Shalom. Kal halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone that rule well. Shalom to the prophets of that body, and shalom to the 144,000 and 1/3. May peace and blessings and the spirit of endurance be upon you and your households as we approach the end, sooner rather than later. Okay? I'm going to try not to digress so much, but I'm going to just get to the point. Taking a page out of one of our elders' books, if I may say that, Elder Apostle Rakayala, get to the point. Obviously, I'm not as skilled as one of our apostles in making videos, but Lord willing, I'll be okay, right? Nevertheless, now we all know about the story, not a story, the factual story, all right? Not some kind of make-believe, situation, the real deal, okay, that Noah's Ark, okay, actually happened. The world was flooded at one point, okay? Now, this is very spiritual indeed, because this story came out 2 days ago. And Noah's Ark, apparently the shape of the whole ark, right, which is huge, humongous, has been found in the land of Turkey, okay? And I believe this has been known for a long time, okay? But the fact remains is that there's such emphasis on it right now as we're approaching the end, and we're approaching the 250th year of America. And the fact that the second death, I believe the second death is going to be the flood of fire, because both are cleansing agents, okay? And the first cleansing agent was water, right? The Lord flooded the earth. Now the second one's going to be fire. Now nuclear, that's going to be the nuclear weapons that are going to hit America. Ground Zero, Babylon. Okay, I just watched the brother's video this morning, and most UFO sightings or the chariot sightings are in America and the UK, right? Now nukes are going to hit other parts of the world as well, but this time round, okay, everybody's going to be affected, but not as much as it was in the ancient world with Noah's Ark, okay? Because we're going to need slaves, of course, so that's why a lot of other countries are going to still stay populated. Wives, concubines, slaves, we're going to need them, okay? But now we're approaching the end, okay? All these truths, these so-called mysteries that people didn't believe, they just it's just a story. It's just a story, people make up, to teach their children from right from wrong and all that kind of thing. No, this is the real deal. This actually happened, and it's factual. It's in the Bible, all right? And it corresponds with history, okay? Historic artifacts, and most importantly, the Bible, because that is the mouthpiece. That's Yahweh Hashem speaking in the scriptures, and his men of the Lord, the men of Great Millstone, are his mouthpiece, and they've been talking about this for yonks. That's what we say in the UK, yonks, meaning for a long, long, long time. All right. And I've also got a list of countries that have a similar story like Noah's Ark, which is basically Noah's Ark, right? And is Noah's Ark, but what they do is they, rename the characters in their own cultural tongue, names and characters and this and that and the third. All right. But the fact remains is that it's corresponding around the world, and it's the same. All right. So the fact that we are approaching the end of this kingdom, okay, and all these truths and mysteries that were once thought of as just a story like what's the other one? What's that? Red Riding Hood, something like that. It's not. Red Riding Hood is some bullshit. This is the real deal, okay? The Ark of the Covenant actually existed. That's the real deal. Noah's Ark actually existed. That's the real deal. Ark of the Covenant is still here, of course, but we don't know where it is. Okay, I believe the elders may know. Okay, I'm not that. I don't have as much knowledge as our elders, but it still exists, right? All right, and because that's where the tablets are. That's where Moses received, or Mashah received, the commandments. All right, those stone tablets are somewhere. Edom has hidden them, right? Okay, that's the real deal. The Ten Commandments is a real deal. Noah's Ark is a real deal. The Israelites are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's the real deal. The Israelite foreigners coming from the loins of Israelite men scattered to the four corners of the earth, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28:64, is the real deal. Okay, we're coming into our salvation. That's the real deal. Yahweh Shai is a so-called black man. That's the real deal. The Most High, our power, Abanoah Yahweh is a so-called black man. That's the real deal. Daniel 7 verse 9. Okay. The book of Revelations lets you know what the most Yahweh Shai looks like, and the Father looks like the Son. Salakia. The Son looks like the Father. Salakia, Lord. The Son looks like the Father, right? Okay. So this is all real information that's coming out. Okay. That skirt is being lifted, all right? All these mysteries, all these truths are coming out about these damn honkies as well. These Edomites, they are nobody people. 2 Ezra 6 verse 54. They're like spit. All these things are coming out. And it's quite spiritual because we are in the age of information. All these mysteries are being ironed out. And that, that looking glass, which was once foggy, right, has been wiped clean with a beautiful microfiber cloth, right, with a nice bit of spray. Sprayed it clean so you can pristinely see through that looking glass, and it's all coming, transparent. You can see it, all right? And now the next one is going to be, in the kingdom, when I said in the kingdom, it went bing, my phone went bing. But in the kingdom, the first Exodus we talk about, right? We talk about Noah's Ark. We talk about the first Exodus out of Egypt. But in the kingdom, the Exodus that's going to happen now, the second one is going to be a major talking point in the kingdom. All right. And all these bits and bobs of information are coming out, and it's letting you know that Yahweh Hashem Shai is real. Okay. It's not a figment of somebody's imagination. They're not crazy talking to themselves. They're actually speaking to Yahweh Hashem Shai. And I'm talking about the elect Israelites. I'm not talking about everybody else. All right. Now I'm going to play the video. See, Noah's Ark, the Ark saved the elect at that time. All right, with the whole world being flooded. Okay, as well as the clean and unclean animals, had to repopulate the earth, etc., etc. Right? Now, the Ark this time, or the Arks, are going to be, Lord willing, I'm saying this correctly, Yahweh Shemeh Sharatizah, is going to be the chariots, because America is going to be on fire, and other parts of the world are going to be on fire. Nuclear weapons. Okay? There's the reason why Esau Edom always makes movies about America being destroyed. Other parts of the world getting hit a little bit, but not completely destroyed, because America is ground zero. Okay? Now that ark, Yahweh Hashem Shai is going to send to save his elect, this time around are going to be the chariots. But back in the ancient world, the ark that the Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai sent for his elect at that time, or for the Spirit on Noah to make, was this beautiful, humongous, if I may say, a ship, right? And let's just play. It's 3 minutes 31 seconds. Copyright fair use. I'm not making a dough out of this. This is just for, I'm just emphasizing on the information that's already been provided. I'm not saying anything adverse to it. Let's just go with it. It's 3 minutes 31 seconds. I might not even play all of it. I might just play a little snippet so you get a bit of an understanding. Because Esau Edom's always going to add his little bullshit to it as well. He's always going to add his bullshit to the beautiful truth. That's what Esau does. That's his nature. All right, let's go.
A team of American researchers working in the high mountains of Turkey have uncovered what appear to be hidden tunnels similar to the descriptions of the biblical account of Noah's Ark.
Our next guest says his newly found evidence can prove that Noah's Ark did, in fact, exist, turning this biblical mystery into a reality. Joining us now from Turkey is one of those researchers from Noah's Ark Scans, Andrew Jones. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us and for all the good work that you're doing. This is fascinating. Tell us about your findings that could prove the real-life existence of Noah's Ark.
Thank you for having me on. Yes, greetings from the mountains of Ararat, where the Bible says the ark landed. I'm about 1 mile from the Iranian border, and in this remote area, this boat formation was discovered in 1959 But our new research has shown that there are tunnels about 4 meters down, about 2 meters high, going down the center of the boat and on the inside edge of the hull shape. And so we really believe that this layout showing tunnels and also
Damn it. Let's just pause for a bit. Just bear with me.
possible support beams and walls would suggest that it's a man-made object and not just a natural formation.
Yeah, many geologists disagree with that. They say, look, this is just a natural formation. But gosh, Andrew, when I look at that, it doesn't look very natural to me. What's your response to those geologists?
Excuse me again. Salakia, man. It's the same playing games. All right. It's just...
Yeah, so first of all, you have to explain how did an earth formation get into the shape of a ship, and then is exactly 300 cubits long, which is the length given in the book of Genesis in the Bible.
Genesis.
And so we have the exact length, we have the ship shape, we're in the right location, and now we're also seeing that the soil inside is different from right outside the formation. So we have 3 times more organic matter found inside versus right outside. So it's a distinct object and not just part of the mountainside.
Can you take your work underground and explore some of these tunnels to get a definitive answer?
That is the next goal. And we're really hoping that the Turkish universities will be able to do that. And so that's the plan. And that's what we've suggested. And we're even wanting to help with designing a robot that can go down into these tunnels and film and take samples.
I understand that your organization is called Noah's Ark Scans, which probably answers my next question for me. But in your heart of hearts, based upon all the time and all the effort that you have put into this, do you truly believe that you have found Noah's Ark?
Yes, I do believe that this is the real decayed, buried remains of Noah's Ark, the famous ship. And we're doing our best to convince the skeptics and show the world this site.
Is your goal scientific, or is it to strengthen people's faith, Andrew?
I think it happens both ways. So you find an archaeological site like this out in the mountains, the archaeologists get involved, they do the science, and then, of course, the faithful will want to come out and see it. And for them, it affirms, I'm a Christian, so it affirms our belief in the biblical account.
Amazing.
I love it.
This is the greatest
story all day talking to you.
we've ever done. Andrew Jones, best of luck to you. We will be watching this.
All right, there you go. I think that's about it. Yeah, let's go to the next page. Now, I'll put in which countries around the world have a similar story like Noah's Ark in their traditions, right? Okay. All right, AI overview. Now, Esau, what did that guy say that said he's a so-called Christian? He said, the scientists or whatever, the people are saying that, it's just a natural occurrence or whatever. They're always going to, put dirt on people's faith and people's belief systems, They're always going to throw dirt on spiritual power, spiritual things happening, The Most High being a so-called black man, his son being a so-called black man, Yahweh Bashem Yashai. They're always going to do things like that because they don't want you to believe. They don't want you to have faith. They want to destroy that. That's just their nature, right? But fuck them. All right. Now, they're all gonna DIE anyway. All right, unless any of them are part of the elect. But anyway, flood myths remarkably similar to the biblical story of Noah's Ark exist in hundreds of traditions around the world because it was a worldwide event. It was a worldwide event. It's written in the book of Genesis. All right. A worldwide event. All right, so flood myths, remarkably similar to the biblical story of Noah's Ark, exist in hundreds of traditions around the world, featuring common elements such as divine wrath, a chosen survivor, a constructed vessel, the rescue of animals, and the eventual repopulation of the earth. Here are countries and regions with prominent traditions similar to Noah's Ark. Okay? Now, in the West, people ain't going to talk about it because in the wild, wild West, spirituality is not so heavy duty unless you're an Israelite and you're in the faith and you are part of that number, right? The rest of the world just believes in TikTok and YouTube, all right? That's their world, all right? But in the East, where traditions are slightly different, and whatever religion or faction they come from, they have some kind of belief system in a higher power. Whether they're Israelites or heathens, that's irrelevant. But the fact remains is they're going to talk about it. Okay, they're going to have a similar story. All right. Iraq, Mesopotamia, Sumerian, Babylon, Assyrian. Okay. And these are all captivities where Jacob was. We were slaves in many, many, many places. All right. Book of Numbers alludes to that, lets you know what time it is. All right. The amount of captivities we've been in. All right. The book of Daniel, the statue, talking about the statue from the golden head, which I believe is Babylon, and right down to the concrete feet, right? Or concrete and iron, we're in this final captivity. All right. So all these places where Jacob is, or Jacob was, is also touched upon. All right. And, the Israelites are, if you look at the countries here, most of them are Israelites or where Israelites are scattered. Okay. And along with that, obviously we've been in slavery around the world. Wherever Jacob's feet touched, okay, there is going to be some kind of spirituality. There's going to be some artifacts, and there's going to be records of our captivity and the things that we've gone through. All right. So Iraq, Mesopotamia, Sumerian, Babylonian, Assyrian. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the most renowned parallel predating the biblical account. Okay. It tells of Utna Pishtim, whoever that, who was warned by the god Ea to build a giant boat, the preserver of life, to survive a flood sent by Enlil, taking his family and animals aboard. Other Mesopotamian versions include the Artahasis epic and the Eridu Genesis. I mean, at that time, the Bible is always here, but I believe in physical, 144, Brakti Abashim Ashai, it's 1:44 p.m. At that time, I believe Elder Apostle Tahar said this, and I could be wrong. Salak, if I apologize. Okay, I'm just going to be very clear here, right? But I believe one of the elders said it, but I could be incorrect, that at that time, there was no physical Bible. Everything was like word of mouth. So when it says here, predating the biblical account, they're saying that before the actual Bible, physical Bible existed, in the pages and the books and things of that nature, right? So there was always, verbal accounts were always there, all right? All right? And the scriptures, Yahweh Bashim Shai and the beautiful Bible come first, okay? Not everybody else is just, second, third, fourth, whatever, all right? Greece, the story of Deucalion and Perha tells of Zeus deciding to destroy humanity. The Titan Prometheus warns his son Deucalion to build a large chest ark to survive, which lands on Mount Parnassus. India, a lot of Jacob over there, all right? A lot. Believe me, there's a lot, all right? Not in every part of India, not in just the south of India. Now, a lot of people talk about Israelites being in the south of India, but there's no talent in the south of India. I'm sure there's Jakes over there, all right? Jakes with the original look, Jakes that don't have the original look, all right? There's Israelites over there, but most of the talent comes from northern part of India, where my family is from. Well, you know, due to captivity and things like that. All right. But nevertheless, India has got a huge, strong population of Israelites there. All right. Some of them are known as the Untouchables, but Israelites are in every faction of every so-called tribe or sub-tribe there. You know, some Israelites might call themselves Brahmin. Some Israelites might call themselves Kshatriya, which means warrior class, or business class, which is Brahmin, or the low class, which is like the people that broom the roads and this and that. Third. That's created by Esau, Edom anyway, to divide up, people up there. All right. India, the Matsya Purana relates the story of Manu. All right. A righteous man warned by Matsya, a fish avatar of Lord Vishnu. Okay. You know, that's why that movie, Avatar or Avtar, meaning that's why a lot of Israelites have the name Avtar in India as well. Avtar meaning like what's actually, let me get the definition of it before Avtar. We say it's Avtar, or in the British accent, be Avatar. You know, Avatar. There's many around amongst Israelite foreigners that name. Elam doesn't utilize that. Elam has his fucking names which are, 15, 20 syllables. And okay.
Avatar.
An avatar is a digital image. No, that's some other shit. Going to gaming. Okay. The word avatar originates from the Sanskrit word avatara, meaning a descent, signifying the incarnation or manifestation of a divine being on earth. All right? Originates from the Sanskrit word avatara, meaning descent, signifying the incarnation of or manifestation of a divine being on earth. All right? So this Hinduism nonsense. In India, the Matsya Purana relates the story of Manu, a righteous man warned by Matsya, a fish avatar, a fish god, a fish avatar of the Lord Vishnu, about a cosmic flood. Manu builds a boat and ties it to the fish, which guides him to safety. Okay. China. All right, a lot of Jake over there. The Lord has made Judah and Israel covert over there. A lot of Jakes over there. A lot of fine, I don't want to start talking about the women. Here we go. It's like, where Jake's mind always wanders, in it, to the ladies. Anyway, China. Numerous flood stories exist, including the Mao tribe's tale of Noah. They say Noah, a name sounding similar to Noah, who built a boat to save his family of 8. A lot of Jakes over there, man. Covert. Bruce is one. Shit, man. Jackie Chan could be one too. You never know. Who built a boat to save his family of 8. As well as the story of the Nosu people, where a son named Dum or Dum, I'll say Dum, it's probably more than like Dum, survives in a boat. Another popular legend involves a brother and sister surviving a flood in a giant gourd. What the hell is a gourd? Let me just Google that 1 second. What is a gourd? Damn it. It's good to look at the definitions of words. So you don't want to just hopefully have some kind of idea what the word means, but it's best to. Okay, a gourd is a hard-shelled fruit from various vine plants in the Cucurbitaceae family. All right. So it could be, what do you say, a giant gourd. So it could be like a giant, I don't know. Because remember at that time, grapes were huge, pumpkins were huge. So it could be the shell. 144 again, 441. Okay, it could be like some kind of shell casing of some kind of fruit. A giant one, which could sort of be like a raft to make you survive. Okay. Let me just go here. Let's see.
Avatar.
What is a god? Just bear with me. I'm just gonna get it. We got this sort of idea what it is. I just want to just maybe get some more information on it. Ah, here we go. Yeah. In the Chinese flood myths, specifically Mao Mong tradition, a giant gourd or pumpkin acts as the ark or vessel. That's a spirit, man. Before I even read that, I just assumed in my mind that it could have been a pumpkin shell. Okay. Acts as the ark or vessel, saving a brother and sister from a global flood caused by a thunder god. Okay. The siblings Fuxi and Noah hide inside the gourd, allowing them to survive, eventually marry and repopulate the earth world. Okay, that's the Chinese tradition. All right. Okay, so like a giant pumpkin shell, or whatever, or casing. Mexico Aztec. Now we know for the bulk, Mexicans are tribe of Issachar. A lot of Israelites over there, so they're gonna definitely have some kind of story. Indigenous traditions here with the Cherokee and all that, Choctaw and Chippewa. We know most of them are Israelites. Okay, Northern Kingdom. So we know there's going to be some kind of beautiful story there, man, alluding to Noah's Ark. But let me go to the Mexico and Aztec part. The Aztec tradition features Tezpi, who escapes a great flood in a large boat filled with animals, later realizing a vulture and a hummingbird to find land. Another tale includes Mata and Nana, who were sealed in a cypress tree to survive. Okay. Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. Okay. There's heathens there too, but a lot of Israelites. Like a lot of them gang members in LA that hang out with Jake, visible Jake, so-called black man, Latino man. They're in the gangs together. They all say the N-word. They all roll together. They all eat together. They all, deal with each other's, they all deal with each other's women from different so-called cultures that they grow up. Most of them are Jake. Well, some of them are Jake. Let's just say that. Not all of them, some of them. Especially the ones in the West Coast. A lot of them Samoan Jakes and Thailand Jakes and Asian gangs, or is it Asian Crips or whatever? A lot of them are Israelites, man. All right. I know I said Samoan, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of Jake everywhere, man. We are the largest nation on the planet Earth. Hosea 1:10. We are? Yes, we are. All right? I don't give a shit what these other Israelites say. They all talk about Afro this, Afro that. Man, we come in. Listen, man, we don't just have one look. We look like everybody. Jake, even a so-called black man and a so-called black woman have children. The children are going to come out many shades naturally. All right? Naturally. And we've already seen that with Jacob and Esau. Right? And we've seen also depictions of that happening in Nigeria. All right? Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Southeast Asian traditions, particularly among Thai ethnic groups and Vietnamese tribes, often tell of a great flood that leaves only 2 survivors who flee in a giant magical gourd or boat to escape a flood caused by a supreme god. United States, North America. Indigenous traditions such as those of the Cherokee, Choctaw, and Chippewa contain similar stories, often involving a man saving his family in a great canoe. A great canoe, yeah. Well, at least the tribe of Gad is making more sense. Okay, great canoe, that's a boat. The ark. Hawaii, the story of Nu'u, sounds like Noah, all right, who constructed a canoe with a house on top to escape a flood, eventually landing on Mauna Kea. Norway and Norse. All right, Norse mythology tells of the death of the giant Ymir, whose blood creates a flood that drowns all other giants except for Bergelmir and his wife, who escape in an ark. Iran, Zoroastrianism, okay, the land of Elam, okay, all right, and that was a major religion up there, man, a fire religion, which is similar to Hinduism, with the fire and all that. I guess that's where Hinduism comes from. A lot of similarities, man. Iran, Zoroastrianism, the story of Yima, who is warned of a coming disaster and builds an enclosure to preserve the fittest people and animals. All right. Key shared elements. Warning of a flood. 66% of these myths include a pre-warning of the flood. The vessel, 70% involve survival in a boat or ark. Animals saved, 67% mention saving animals. Mountain landing, 57% report the boat resting on a mountain. Is that Mount Ararat, right? Survivors in 9% of the stories survivors in 9% of the stories exactly. Survivors in 9% of the stories, exactly 8 people survived. All right. And in the video that I just we got was Mount Ararat, right? Where did Noah's Ark land? Okay, according to Genesis 8 and 4, Noah's Ark landed in the mountains of Ararat. I thought it was Ararat. Ararat, a region in ancient Urartu, modern-day eastern Turkey, like in the video just stated. While popular tradition often points to Mount Ararat near the Armenian border as a site, many scholars and explorers also focus on nearby alternatives, specifically Mount Kuri or Dopinar site, a boat-shaped formation. All right, but that one is in the one, Mount. I believe it's Turkey. But the fact remains is it happened. All right, so all these truths are coming out. Okay. And this is real, man. All right. Now, I've quoted a few scriptures. I just want to read a few scriptures as well. All right, Lord willing. I know it's going plus 30 minutes. And I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 7. Read a couple of verses. So, expand on the beauty of this. All right. Let's go to Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. And the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yashai said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. They were righteous, man. The rest of the world was wicked. All right. They were partying and bullshitting, getting married and all that. The same way it's happening now. And that's why the world is populated so much. I was watching an interview of I hate saying Muhammad Ali, man. I hate that damn fucking Salakia. I want to say Cassius Clay. I want to say Clay. Right? And it was in the UK. And at that time, I think it's believed 1972, the world population was around about 4 billion people. Right? Now, the world population today is, let me actually Google it. I believe it's 9 billion. What is the population of the Earth today in 2026? Okay. I'm sure it's 9.4 billion when I last checked. This census. All right. Let's just go with this then. As of April 2026, the Earth's population is approximately 8.3 billion people. All right. So in the space of what? 55 years, the population has doubled by 4.3 billion people, 4.5 billion more people. So those same spirits are back today, ready for judgment the second time round in various formations. In various ways, they're going to get judgment. All right. Whether it's with fire, whether it's with little rockets and skirmishes here and there, or whether it's being deleted by marauders and all the other diverse ways the Lord Yahweh is going to take you out. So they're ready for judgment. It's right. This earth is ripe for judgment. America is ripe for judgment. It ain't going to go on like this forever, man. This place is FUCKED, man. With 10 exclamation marks at the end of that. Underlined in red. This place has got to go, man. All right? All right. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee, Salakia, just excited. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, and the male and his female. All right. of the fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. This had to be done because the Lord destroyed everything with the flood. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days, 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord Yahweh Shemashah commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. Now, you dumb ninjas, right, are going to say, oh, how can people live to 600 years old? Well, there's similar stories in India as well, where people lived to 900 years old. This was across the four corners of the earth. People lived longer. We've regressed to the point where we live up to about 70-something years old now. All right, we're like you hit 6'2". Whoa, he's big, man. He's such a big guy. He's swole. 6'2" ain't nothing. In the ancient world, we were, I believe King David's height was like 10 feet, and that he was considered small. A person who's 9-10 feet today is swole. If King David was walking the earth right now, right, with his comely self, 9-10 feet tall, swole, full beard, man, braided hair, whatever, people think that, there's some kind of superhero walking the earth, but back then that was like normal, so people did live longer. People look better. We've regressed to the point, especially our people, man. So yeah, people did live long back then. All right. So the people were bigger. The earth was more beautiful. The women were more finer and more feminine. All right. It took a couple of men, I believe, or 2 men at least, and men were stronger way back then, bruv. Yeah. To pull, I believe the term is a cluster of grapes, and a grape was probably like the size of a freaking basketball or a soccer ball, or maybe even bigger. You got some. You see videos of people that have green fingers that grow vegetables in gardens, and I believe they more than likely follow the land Sabbath, right, which is in the scriptures, letting the earth rest, and they follow it. And what happens? The pumpkins grow huge, and or whatever the vegetables they grow, they're growing like they did in the ancient world. And people are perplexed, thinking, "Whoa, they're giving the vegetables steroids?" No, they're just growing normally like they're supposed to, right? And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. All right, of clean beasts and of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. And there went unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as the Most High had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. Okay? Shall I read all of it? Let me see. Why not? In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. All right? Because at that time, it didn't rain. We get all this knowledge in the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemashai from our elders and apostles on down the men of Great Millstone. I urge you to subscribe and be edified, man. They're the teachers of the earth and the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemashai. All right? Okay? It was like a dew or a mist, like you see in the morning. You see this wetness upon the grass, this little beautiful mist, like a light spray. Like you get them spray bottles on a hot day, you might spray on your face, and it feels nice. And it's a nice little light breeze and the sun is shining. It was like that light breeze is sort of watering the earth. All right. It wasn't heavy rain. It wasn't thick drops of rain. But the Lord Yahweh Shemashai opened the waters of heaven, opened the earth, opened the heavens up, right? So water was coming from the sky as well as from the ground. That's where a lot of these people get these inspiration of creating these showers or these I think it's, what do you call them? Jacuzzis and all that, right? Where the water just comes from underneath the ground and the top, so you can just get water from coming from every direction when you're in the shower, that's how it was upon the earth. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. All right. In the self same day, Noah entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, into the ark. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. All right, that to bring the earth back. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, two and two of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. All right, and they that went in male and female of all flesh, as the Most High had commanded him, and the Lord Yahweh shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lift up above the earth. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills and that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both fowl and of the cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. All right, the Lord's going to destroy America, the same way. But this time that cleansing agent is going to be fire, not water. All right, but this time around, not every human being or creeping things going to be destroyed. Okay. America is that land, and other parts of the world, especially the 1948 land, is going to be destroyed as well. And other little, rockets will hit other parts of the world too, but they won't be completely obliterated the way America is going to be. All right, because America is ground zero Babylon. All right, Egypt all over again. Hence, Egypt or pyramid on the dollar bill. All right. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life of all that was in the dry land died. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Okay, that's Genesis chapter 7. You can read more if you want. I know the video's gone to 42 minutes now, but nevertheless, see, these truths are coming out, and more truths are going to come out, man. More revelations, where people think there's just a story, or just a figment of somebody's imagination. Somebody was high at that time on opium, and they wrote this story. No, this is the real deal. Okay, and you're going to know how real, or what you call the prophets of doom, the men of great millstone, were teaching on the streets that Yahushua is going to return. The Most High and his son are so-called black men. His people are, for the most part, melanated, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. All right, and obviously we know about the Israelite foreigners too, but for the most part, I'm saying, all right, and America is going to be destroyed, and the chariots are similar to an ark in terms of saving his elect. Okay, like at that time, the elect was Noah and his and as our Latino brothers would say, Noah and his familia, right? But this time around, it's going to be a bigger salvation in terms of because the elect, the first fruits, they're all familia or family. Lord willing, I said it correctly, and I know it's a long video. Apologies for that. But I just had to read this whole chapter. But nevertheless, all praises, honor, glory, blessings, and power be unto Abba Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash, Mawatha Bad Babal, Kwam Yashrala. Shalom. The skirts being lifted, the veils being lifted, and these truths are coming out. And hence the reason why there are not many scoffers anymore. And the ones that are, they're usually online, and they're just young people that are retired. But those old-time scoffers that were scoffing against the men of the Lord, I think they're quite silent right now because they are shaking in their boots. Because, our second Exodus is coming. America is going to be destroyed. Esau, Edom is going to slavery. Okay? And all these things, all these beautiful things in the Bible are real. They are not made up of somebody's imagination. And that little snippet, right, from the news segment it lets you know what time it is. All right. And even if they didn't find it, right, hypothetically speaking, we still know that this is real because we believe in Yahweh Bashim Yashai. We believe in the things that are not seen. All right. Okay. It's faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Okay. So we believe. All right. We're not one of them Jakes that believe it when I see it type, because then it's going to be too late for a lot of yous. Right. Jakes that believe without seeing, a good bunch of them are the elect. All right. Anyway, shalom.